My wife and I were married for 8 years. By the time all this happened, she was the 4th grade math teacher at the local middle school. The principal of the school worked with her for 9 years and they were good friends. I always trusted them and believed their relationship was strictly professional. My wife was a teacher for so long. I never expected her to do anything to jeopardize her career. Maybe she didn't think anyone would ever find out what she was doing. But that's a stupid thing to believe. She forgot her phone one day while she was at work and I found it in the couch cushions. Although I didn't expect to find anything interesting at all. I started snooping through her phone. I found messages from the principal to her. That wouldn't have been very weird. But I only scrolled a little bit before the conversation took a naughty turn. She had sent him a picture showing things that were only meant for my eyes. Black small square. The picture was after he asked her if she was feeling hot for him. The part that broke my heart the most was when he mentioned how wonderful her body felt. The principal was a married man, which made it even more appalling. Their messages went back for a long time. I couldn't even determine when their message chain started. There was a lot of steamy talk that pissed me off so badly. I had enough reading and decided to call Mrs. Principal. She was really confused to hear from me, but I explained, I was the husband of the 4th grade teacher at the school where her husband is the principal. Black small square. She wanted to know why I was calling. This was the hard part. Black small square. I stuttered and tried to find the words. But I eventually told her, I found messages on my wife's phone from her husband. Then I added that the messages implied they had sexual relations. She gasped and started choking on her words while she asked me questions. Eventually, I just told her I would send her screenshots of the proof and her phone number. After she read through a lot of them, she told me she was going to call the vice principal and local superintendent. I braced myself. My wife was going to be in serious trouble. In one day, she lost her career and husband. Black small square. I felt bad for her and me, but I only felt bad for her because I cared about her deeply for a long time up to this point. Who knows how long she hid this from me? I know I certainly didn't deserve it. Black small square. I remembered my mom convinced me to do a prenup before my wife and I got married. And now I was relieved. It just ensured I would get to keep the house. As soon as I thought about this, I got the first panic text from my wife. She said something weird was happening and she needed to call me in a few minutes. Black small square. I didn't reply, but it took her 45 minutes to call me. She was crying and I could hear people talking in the background. Black small square. She said she was called into the meeting room and fired for having too close of a relationship with the principal. I didn't respond too quickly because she wasn't being completely honest with me. I just asked if the principal was fired too and she said, yes. I asked her what kind of relationship they had and she went silent. She finally asked me if I found her phone after I said, yes. Lots of silence followed. That's when I was done playing dumb and told her I found all the messages between the two of them and that she needed to move out of the house today because it belongs to me. Black small square. I told her that this was all her fault. She did this to us. And now she would have to live out the consequences in her life. She sobbed and told me she was so sorry among other promises and anything she could say to try to keep me on the phone. She thought she could use the hook she had in my heart to convince me to stay. She was wrong. I was my own support and nirvana. I didn't need her to function or have a good life. I was not afraid of facing the challenge she hit me with. I didn't need to save her from suffering from the pain either. I had these thoughts as she was rambling over the phone. I told her to shut up and that she needed to come pack up her stuff. I also warned her that if anything was left behind when I got back, it was mine and she wouldn't be allowed back in. Black small square. I had really inspiring and supportive conversations with my friend at his house while my wife's world crumbled around her. Her and the principal were homeless and jobless. Now his wife kicked him out of the house immediately and he got fired from his job. The whole town knew about their affair. So they instantly gained a reputation as being home wreckers. Last I heard of them is that they both had to move out of state to avoid the aftermath of the disaster they had created. Black small square. Not a day goes by where I reconsider my decision to leave my ex. The first few nights were hard, but I just absorbed my mind in the things I enjoy the most. My hobby is building model trains and miniature scenery. It is extremely fun and time-consuming. Before I realized it, I had become a sought-after bachelor in town and started dating. I'm still taking things slowly to heal mentally from what I've been through. But since the incident happened, I have experienced some casual relationships with women in my area. Overall, things have turned out pretty great. And I want people to know that leaving a cheating spouse is not as scary as it seems. Wow. Black small square. I am so sorry you had to experience the surprise betrayal of your wife of 8 years. No one should have to experience this. It is a shame that it happens relatively often in today's world. It's no secret that families are intended to be permanent and survive all trials and temptations together. Your wife was tempted by something that could only benefit her. So I believe you made a reasonable decision to start over your story. Offers hope to our viewers and I thank you for sharing. I wish you all the best. Now for today's second story. This actually happened to me and it makes me believe karma is real. I married my wife when I was 24, she was 28. She had a boyfriend that was in prison for 5 years. By the time we got married, for obvious reasons, I assumed that they were broken up without any chance of ever seeing each other again. She didn't tell me that they'd been writing each other letters and talking on the phone every week since he was locked up. She also never told me that he was scheduled to be released on her second wedding anniversary. I know she knew about it because she made up an excuse to leave the house alone. That night, she went so far as to fake a phone call with her mom claiming they needed help to move something heavy. I was a fool for believing her without question. I let her go that night without knowing that she was his ride to where he was staying. She was gone for an hour and a half, which just felt way too long to be helping her parents move something at their house. 5 minutes away, black small square. I called her just as she walked in the door. She looked very pleased and amused. I asked her how it went and it took her a few seconds to remember what excuse she gave me. She finally said, "Oh, yeah, it went great. It wasn't really that heavy. I think they just wanted to see me." Black small square. I asked what they talked about and she just looked at me like that was a weird question. Black small square. I stared at her expectantly like it shouldn't be hard for her to answer. If she was telling me the truth, she started sweating and stammering. She made up something, but her improv wasn't convincing. Then she went off to bed, giving me a lame excuse on our anniversary night. I hate to say it, but her sneaking away went on for another 3 months. She acted so happy while she was at home. It made me think everything was great between us. We even had wonderful sex, which bothers me a lot. Now that I know what was going on behind my back, everything started falling apart. When she told me she was pregnant, I didn't believe it was possible because almost every time we had sex, she made me use a condom. Funny. She was making her husband use a condom while she had unprotected sex with her felon boyfriend. Now, I believe she wanted to get pregnant by him so she could leave me for him and guarantee that he would stay with her. Well, her plan backfired as soon as it was possible. I had a DNA test done on the child. She tried to resist the idea at the doctor's office but quickly realized that made it look like she was hiding something. The DNA test came back in surprise. I was not the father. Now get this. She had the nerve to tell me that DNA tests can be wrong. So, while we waited for the second test results, I made her stay at her parents' house. She absolutely hated this. I think she hated it because she tried to move in with her baby daddy and he wouldn't let her. Her parents didn't know anything was up yet, but they wouldn't be in the dark for much longer. I knew she wasn't just going to stop visiting her secret lover. So it was time to follow her. I sat in my running car down the street from her parents' house in 0-degree weather. She got in her car around 9:45 p.m. I followed her at a distance but relied heavily on the family location app. She forgot she had on her phone. She went inside a house with loud music blasting from it. I don't know how many people were in there. But after 8 minutes, I felt brave enough and determined enough to sneak up to the windows. I peeked in and saw several people mingling around. I found a bedroom but I couldn't see very well through the window. I swore I could hear my wife, but the music was so loud that I couldn't be sure or record it. Black small square. I went back to the car and waited until she came outside. 39 minutes later, I snapped a picture of him saying goodbye to her, but it was really poor quality. I thought it was really sad that he was obviously just using her and she wasn't welcome to stay much longer than what was necessary. I filed for divorce before the test results came. When her parents saw their pregnant daughter being served divorce papers at their door, they started shitting bricks. My wife was kicked out shortly after that. Her cries and attempts to explain why this was happening just didn't make sense to her parents. They knew she must have had a secret lover who would take her in if she had nowhere else to go. They were right. After they kicked her out, she was picked up immediately by her felon baby daddy. Black small square. I watched her social media during and shortly after our divorce, and whenever she posted pictures of the baby or her and her baby daddy, the house looked absolutely filthy. She stayed there until their baby was 3 weeks old. That's when she walked in on him having sex with another woman. My ex absolutely broke down at that point. She stopped caring for the baby and was taken to a mental health facility to recover. The felon baby daddy wasn't that great at caring for a child on his own. So the baby was taken into Child Protective Services shortly after that. It's been 1 year since all of this happened and my ex is still in the Meadows. When she was first admitted, she would try to call me at least once a day and leave a voicemail full of apologies and tears. Sometimes I answered, but our conversations were so awkward and empty. There was no way she was going to win me back at this point. She had destroyed the life and trust we built together. Eventually, she stopped calling me and all I know is that she hasn't been released yet. I have yet to begin dating again. Black small square. I feel so relieved to have gotten a chance to recover from the emotional destruction she caused me. I'm building a relationship with myself. I didn't realize it until after I was single again, but I was living each day hating things about myself. That's why I started working on after I left my wife, black small square self-improvement and self-acceptance. I'm the only one that's going to be there for me through everything I encounter in life. I'm grateful for my dad and the few friends I have in this world. They helped me through the hard times and abrupt changes. Your story is quite shocking. I read a lot of these stories, but I'm always surprised when a wife manages to hide a secret relationship from her husband. I'm so sorry. You had to endure the emotional torment that accompanies marital betrayal. Your wife made a terrible and selfish decision to have an affair with a felon. Clearly, her life was much better while she was married to you. I feel like her decision to stoop so low is a reflection of how she sees herself unworthy and seeking approval from anyone. I am happy to hear how you handled it and hope that people going through a similar situation stay strong and follow your example. Stay strong. Black small square. Thank you all for the support and for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoy listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Black small square. Also comment below with your thoughts on what happened. Take care. Black small square, black small square, black small square, black small square.